When John speaks, USAC and the FCC listens, and that's a good thing for all of us because he's one of the biggest proponents and supporters of E-rate and began working on it in year one. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about EdTech advocacy, and you'd say, don't want none of it, not interested in it, want to know how to get more money, want to know how to make sure everything I want gets approved. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that, but I would share with you that if you're not worried about advocacy, you should get worried about it because what happens in DC, where that E-rate money flows from, impacts E-rate funding, and we make the difference in what they do. Now, this lady on the screen, all of you, she should be your brand new hero because Commissioner Jessica Rosenworcel is the new chair of the FCC, the first female chair, the biggest commissioner on the FCC supporting E-rate. She has been screaming and hollering in Washington for us forever. And she advocates for E-rate, more connectivity. She was the woman, the person who coined the homework gap and got the funding for all of that happened. So she is our champion, and she's a big proponent for us. So it's more than important. I was a former library media specialist, so you know I never found a Dr. Seuss book that I didn't like. And the Lorax says, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not. And that's the truth, because in history, since 96, a long time ago, 1996, history proves anything can happen in DC. Do y'all believe anything can happen in DC? Are you watching what's going on with Congress now and the silliness and the ridiculousness? Anything can happen. So that means all of us, our work in school districts around funding and technology and how we pay for our connectivity, it's just minute by minute. We shouldn't take the E-rate for granted. Right now, I'm going to say it, John, it pains me, and I'm going to need some drinks after this.
We're in the right place.
I know we are in the right place, Kentucky bourbon. I'm not a bourbon lover, but I'm going to be by the time I finish saying this. My senator in Texas is Crazy Ted Cruz. And the reason I say that is because what did Ted Cruz say about about E-rate, John?
It's just a welfare program, and basically it's a subsidy for TikTok.
Yes, it's a subsidy for TikTok, in case you didn't know it. This is the dude that chairs the Senate Commerce Committee that is in charge of E-rate. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I guess, I'll be in DC for the Advocacy Day. I have a meeting with he and his staff. John has already said he'll send bail money. You're laughing, but I'm telling you, every time I've gone up there, every single year, I've said, oh, we would like to thank the senator for his support of public education, and we know he chairs the Commerce Committee, and we thank him for his support. I'm going to walk in there. I don't know. I think there's still open carry law in D.C. Walking in, like they do in Texas, carrying an AR, and say, I want to tell you something. We're not happy with that sucker. And in case you didn't know, in schools on the internet, we block TikTok. There's no TikTok being used in schools. It's a welfare program. So I'm going to be doing, I am a teacher at heart. I'm going to be doing a lot of education. So we can't take it for granted. So what do you need to know and what do you need to do? How many of you are on, it'll always be Twitter to me instead of X. How many of y'all have an account and you tweet and whatever? You should be following these people at FCC, and these other people are the commissioners. Follow them, and when something is going on you don't like with E-rate, tweet to all of them. My very small claim to fame is something I tweeted out about E-rate and funding. Commissioner Rosenworcel retweeted me. I called the people I knew, they went, big deal, Sheryl. Oh, but it's a big deal to me because she is the one. So advocate for your district or school. In Kentucky, you have 2 senators. I suggest you know who they are. They have Twitter accounts. Go on the internet, go on their website, find their Twitter account, follow them, and tweet about things that you want to happen with E-rate and with federal funding. My daughter worked for over a decade for a congressman, and she told me one time when we were working on getting more money, she said, "Mother, call your people off." I went, "Why?" She said, "All my colleagues here in Congress are calling me because they know my mother is this big old advocate for E-rate, and y'all have turned everybody on, and they are burning up our phones, our fax machines, and tweeting to us, and we can't get," she said this to me, "we can't get any damn work done." I said, "Really? Well, then tell them to sign on to the damn bill we want, and I will call the wolves off." And because it makes a difference. And I didn't know that till she told me we have to read everything and report to them the numbers of what they're getting. They don't read it, but we have to report and tell them. So get involved. Join the Cozen Advocacy Network. It's easy. Cozen.org/advocacy. It's free. You get a few emails when something comes up you need to know about. They'll send you an email and you can click, put in your zip code, and there'll be a pre-written letter to your senators, 2 senators and your congressman that says what you want. You don't even have to write it. So it's a good thing.
I'm just going to say, I'm imagining myself in your shoes, thinking like I've already got a full-time job and I'm just trying to keep up.
I know.
And now Sheryl's standing here telling me I need to also like go
Preaching.
lobby Congress. You've got a lot of work to do. I would set aside a bit of your time and energy for these efforts, because we all understand in this room that E-rate funding, those resources are what's keeping your network up and running. And so this is a mission critical conversation actually to your network, to the functioning of your school district. And as obvious to you is the work that you're doing, it's not in DC. Sheryl mentioned I was just at meetings at the FCC, and the level of just lack of understanding. They're one step above like, well, I thought we finished the internet. Didn't you guys get that done? And so telling them, advocating, making sure that, if you're turning a light on somewhere, new something or other, reaching out to, your representatives, invite them, let them come take credit for it. As that one call, that one email could really make the difference.
Interestingly enough, they are looking for something to do that makes them look good, because quite frankly, there isn't a lot now that's making them look good in Washington. They have to come home. They're running for election. I had them come to my school district. They have local representatives. You can find it on their website. You invite them. I never thought I'd get a U.S. senator to come to my district when we put in a whole new internet line and to a new school and everything. She said, "I'm flying in for that." I went, "What?" "Oh, she wants to come. We want some good press for her." I said, "Well, tell her to show up." Well, she had to sit and have lunch with me too. And so she probably said she'll never come there again, but they will come, or they will send a representative, and they will have to listen to you. So it's good PR for your school district, but it's better PR for them to come and show them, yes. That's fine. But you can invite them to come on your district account. That's part of district business. They fund you, so you can invite them. Superintendents interface with the senators and representatives and even state representatives all the time. They invite them to the district to come in for a meeting, to hear about what's going on. It's an informational piece. Now, to lobby them and say, "I want you to do this," that's a different thing. But to invite them in and show them what they've done and tell them what your district needs You're exactly right. It's the obvious, but it's part of your job. It is allowable. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and that is literally, it could be just a data center that you're opening.
Yeah.
It's a photo op, and it's an opportunity to educate. So it may not be that you have to do a whole bunch more, but just taking that extra little beat or that other note, and getting the congressional representatives, governor's office, get them out there. Especially, there's enough crazy in an election year, but you can leverage the election year aspect of it in terms of ribbon cuttings, and if you've got little IT babies to kiss,
If they never saw a ribbon they didn't want to cut. They will come, and you can tell them what's going on, and you can show them how important the things that are being supported is to you. And it's not that the E-rate isn't a welfare program, because I'm telling you something. When Cruz, the chairman of the Commerce Committee, speaks, they listen. I don't know why, but they do listen. So you need to have the counter argument about how important it is to you. So what do you need to do? Remember back in the day, we used to have any of you did E-rate a long time, they used to require a technology plan. It's not required anymore. I'm going to suggest to you, it's not a bad thing to have a technology plan. Yes. In the state of Kentucky, they require them.
Beautiful.
Woo, Kentucky. You know what? Y'all are way ahead of the country. You're way ahead of the rest of the country, because Donna been all over the country. We just came back from Boston. I was in Austin. I was in San Diego. Y'all are a rarity. So good for you. So you've got a detailed plan. Know the deadlines for forms. Don's going to talk to you about this. There's not a lot of grace at USAC for lateness. Decide the best payments. You have a choice. I always chose a bear form. And why did I do that? Because I talked our CFO into understanding, believing that we had to pay for it and we would get the money back with a bear form. But I told him that that was a federal grant, because it kind of sort of was, kind of. And then I said it had to be put into a technology grant fund. He said, okay. And I said, but here's the deal. It's a federal technology grant that's coming back for reimbursement. So it can't go into the general fund next year. It has to roll from year to year. He goes, what? I said, do you want to get in trouble? He said, no. So that technology grant fund, we paid all the cost. You like it, don't you? It's a good idea, isn't it? And it rolled every year. So I had built up this great fund that I could do things with, and I could spend it from year to year. And it wasn't part of the district budget. So, if you like it, try it. I mean, it is a federal grant.
I've got a memo, kind of a standard memo I dust off for that very purpose.
That works?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a memo. Well, look, ask John. He'll send you a memo you can use. So to spend these funds confidently, how many of y'all have ever been audited for E-rate? How many of y'all have ever been audited where they sent people to your district for E-rate? Oh, then you and I were best friends. Wasn't that the funnest thing you ever did? They were in my district for an entire month. That Ernst & Young or one of those people, a month, 2 12-year-olds they sent, that I had to tell them what a 470 was. And they were there an entire month in a private office we had to provide. We had to drive them around to show them a certain funding request number, the exact switch, checking the serial numbers. Thank God we color-coded everything every year that we bought with a different color, sprayed the side of the switches that were right. And so when I sent my guys, they said, what color? I said, it's a pink year. Go show them the pink stuff. We passed. We didn't have to pay any money back. But again, in my normal methodology, near the end, I called their supervisor twice in D.C. and said they may not speak to anyone but me. Well, they have to. I said they may not speak to anyone but me. I forbid them to talk to my staff. And they made my secretary start crying and left and had to go home. They were so mean to her. And so it is a perilous landscape we live. But if they come on site, most of the time they come and they get money back, don't they, John?
Yeah.
How many of your, how many students do you support with E-rate with
about
funds for
5.5 million kids.
5.5 million, the biggest consultant in the country. And so they come to get money, don't they?
Yeah, and it's guilty until proven innocent. And that's why the documentation is so important. Because
so important, have a business plan, document everything. I mean, we kept minutes. Every RFP meeting that we held when we reviewed bids, my admin was in there taking minutes. Now, she did not say every word we said, but she took the general minutes. At the end of that, we dated it and signed it. The rubric we used for evaluation, everyone evaluated every bid independently in a room. We discussed it, averaged it, we signed the bid you evaluated, you signed it and dated it, the rubric you signed and dated it. We had all that. So when I had a desk audit, I gave them all that, and then they left me alone because we documented everything and there was no chance of error. The other thing is, I know it sounds crazy, we have every piece of documentation from year one. It's all digitized. How far back have you ever had to go, John? This is scary.
we have a current situation right now going back to 2001. Yeah.
2001.
This is all kind of links together.
2001. And if they don't have that paperwork, what happens?
It's guilty until proven innocent.
So they pay back the money because they can't provide the documentation.
And sometimes USAC will even come back. This particular instance, there was a long ago sort of audit finding that was disputed, and then USAC, it's like they found the piece of paper and said, oh, by the way, we need this from 2001, and they didn't even have the documentation to show what it was they were collecting on, but that wasn't stopping them from trying to collect on it. So just
keep it all.
Yeah, it's mission critical funding, like I just said. Like you have to have it, and you also have to be prepared that you have to fight for those dollars to get them and to keep them.
What? Yeah, to keep them. What's the biggest funding that you know of that they've pulled back from a district? The district had to pay back.
Oh, it's millions. It's in the millions.
Millions.
Yeah, and those are difficult conversations. Those are what do you call those? Career altering moments.
Career altering moments. Yeah. Tell your superintendent they're going to have to pay back 1.8 million. Sir.
I was told at USAC training once that it's a 10-year retention, but really it's indefinite because of some of the rules with the initial meeting with the compliance with CIPA.
Yeah. It's all connected.
It's
very easy for the auditors to find a thread.
And that's why you
connecting
can
the things,
scan everything and digitize it. And as we talked about in our other session, put it in the cloud and have it backed up with 400 times. Go ahead, John. So John's going to talk to us about what you can do for success. And he is the master at making sure we're successful.
Well, thank you, Sheryl.
You are a master.
And Sheryl, keep providing color commentary here. So a couple things. The March 27th deadline for the Form 471 applications, those are the funding requests, it's coming up soon. Technically, we have passed the Form 470 deadline. A little insider tip, the FCC has been very consistent in granting 15-day waivers of the Form 471 deadline. Which means you've actually got like today to if you'd like to get another 470 posted, you're still kind of in that window. So maybe before the Bourbon Trail tonight, you might want to just check, was there something that you looked at it and contract just, oh gosh, something about the RFP, something about the way the evaluation was done. You just weren't, you have concerns. You have an opportunity still today to repost that Form 470, wait the 28 days. You'll still need a contract award. You may need to do a special board meeting, whatever is necessary. But you still have a very narrow window. So I just talking to one of our clients just a few days ago that despite everything, they somehow managed to sign their contract before on day 27. You're supposed to wait 28 days before you sign a contract. And but it happens. It happens every year. It happens to hundreds of applicants, even those that know better. So this is a good chance to double check, make sure you've got everything procured, bid out that you need bid out, and that you've got those that you're on a good trajectory to having your contracts awarded, the evaluation process documented, and all of that information into the EPC system no later than the March 27th deadline. I encourage you not to wait until the March 27th deadline, though, to do all those things. The system glitches. It's going to be down this weekend. There's a lot at stake when it comes to that
down
E-rate
this weekend, John?
because
Why is
it's
it
having
gonna
some
be
issues.
down?
So they're trying to go
Because
in and
it's
fix
having
it.
some issues.
Yeah. So I would not wait until March 27th if you don't have to. Certainly, you may have something that, because of the timing of your contract award and so on, you've got to wait till later. But if there is anything, for example, that is an existing contract, you can submit multiple Form 471 applications. I'd be shocked that you didn't have existing contracts that could go on an application and be submitted this week or next week. That does several things for you. Number one is it gets that application in the system, and it will more likely be funded sooner because of that. It also gives you a chance to sort of check and make sure. Maybe the superintendent goes in and certifies your Form 471. They don't know where their EPC credentials went. Maybe you've got a new superintendent. Maybe your credentials have somehow disappeared. There's 1,000 different scenarios, but the sooner you get into the system, can verify that you can submit the application, get it certified properly, the better. I've been on phone with people, at 11:58 Eastern on the deadline in tears, and it's just not a situation you want to find yourself in. So
The thing we always said, I told all my staff, I told my admins, the one who handles E-rate for me, I told her, oh, it's 30 days. She said, oh, I was in a meeting with USAC and they said 28 days. I said, it is not 28. That's a mistake. We must wait 30 days.
Little margins make a big
everything
difference.
was 30 days. I was not counting on anybody counting.
Okay, this deadline or this time frame up here is really important for you to consider. Remember, E-rate funds are tied to particular funding years. And in the same way the IRS really cares when you get a paycheck, the FCC really cares when you receive service and when you apply those discounts. So for internet and data services, that's called Category 1. The time frame for services is July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. So you want to be thinking about all the services that you'll be receiving during that time frame, and that's what's going to go on this year's application. Similarly, Wi-Fi doesn't show up on the screen. Wi-Fi, just imagine the red light on the screen.
It's on there now.
Oh, is it now? Okay. Wi-Fi and networking corresponds to July 1st, 2024 through September 30th of 2025. And oftentimes I see applicants really focused on this summer or next fall, the fall of 2024, and they forget that this E-rate application period for Category 2 funds, the on-campus data connections, extends all the way to September 30th in 2025. So the question I have for you today is, where do you need to be September 30th of 2025 in your school districts? And that's the opportunity you have with this application period. So if you're looking at Category 2, wireless access points, data switches, network cabling, and so on, it's not limited to this summer. In fact, there's a decent chance you won't have a funding commitment this summer anyway, but you can look all the way out to the fall of 2025. Questions or comments on that? Also, I want to remind everyone that Category 2 funds are subject to a budget. So you have a cap tied to the number of students in your school district that limits the amount of funding you can get over a 5-year period for those types of Category 2 projects. We are currently midway through a 5-year period. It goes from 2021 to 2025. That means there are 2 bites at the apple left for your category 2 discounts. This application that's due March 27th, and then one more application next spring. You need to be thinking about how you want to use those funds and planning for making full utilization of those discounts. I've never found an applicant that didn't need them, really, quite honestly. I imagine the work that you're doing in your school district, you're just struggling to keep up with the demand for access points, just your basic infrastructure. And so using those category 2 discounts effectively means really having that plan. What are we applying for this year? Okay, what do we think is going to be left? How do we want to tee things up for the 2025 funding year? And then keeping in mind that the year after that, you're going to have a new budget. And so you want to pace all those things together. The more you plan and prepare, the more effective your application will be, the better you'll be able to utilize those discounts.
Talk to us a little bit, John, about people who do not file. What's the form to give the money back?
Yeah, the Form 500.
The Form 500 that you've bid out work, you have work done. It came in under what it was going to be. Well, that money is still sitting there as part of your category 2 budget. So many people don't know to file a Form 500, put the money back in your budget. Sir?
Yeah, it actually works.
Yes, it is super fast. But the key is you leave money on the table and you don't get it back, because when your 5-year cycle's over, it resets. So you gave them back money. And the other thing that we did that John's people told us to do is we had a little bit of money left, but I wanted to buy all these new switches for a school. So I spent every penny of my category 2 money, and then I used my local district money to buy the rest of the money off the bid. That was a good advice, John, that y'all gave me. So I spent every penny and got to do a project, but used some local funds to pick up the small difference so I could finish the project in the school.
This is squarely in the realm of like stuff that just, at times I want to just gouge my own eyes out, where it's just like, it's sort of like, it's like insurance paperwork meets tax, whatever. Like, there's nothing glamorous about any of this, but like the tip Sheryl just shared, making sure that your category 2 budget reflects what you've used is really important. When USAC issues a funding commitment, they consider your category 2 budget based on those commitments, not what you've utilized. So if you've got projects that were just canceled or came in under, those dollars need to be reclaimed and then put towards your 2024 or your 2025 project.
You found out a switch. Oh, we didn't need that there. Oh, there's one less. Oh, we didn't need to wire over here. My contractor found a better way, so we didn't even need the fiber over there. So I can remember the money, and I had, we'd look at those invoices, and we'd look at what the budget was supposed to be. I went, oh, my God, that's $10,000 difference. 10, 5, 7. Before we knew it, we had $25,000. I was like, file a Form 500, get the money back.
The way I look at it is, we all have these pockets, or most of us do. Some of us do. I feel so lucky to have pockets. The pocket test, and it can sometimes, quite frankly, when you're doing all these forms, you don't get a lot of credit for doing this work. You're probably going to get in trouble if you don't do it right, but it's unlikely that you're going to get too many accolades or pats on the back for doing this. Okay, so we're doing this because it's the right thing to do. It can become, in the thick of all of this, really easy to just sort of sit there and think, oh, okay, it's $10,000, blah blah blah. It's $10,000, and so I always just think the pocket test. Would I reach down and pick that up and put it in my pocket, and then try my best, and we do that with our staff, to look at all of these applications, all of these opportunities in that same light. And so I just encourage you, especially now, this month of March, the next few weeks, it'll probably be tedious, strenuous, stressful, all of that. Just remember, all those dollars do add up, and every one of those switches, access points, ultimately, they really are making a difference. We know that up here, but I just want to, I'll just say thank you there. So at least one person said thank you for doing your E-rate application this year, okay? A couple notes on competitive bidding. I'm sure many of you right now are in the process of awarding contracts. We know that because there's always a spike in contract awards this time of year. A couple things to be mindful of. Make sure you wait that 28 days. Just add 2, go to 30. Make sure that contract is awarded properly, and properly means waiting that minimum 28-day bidding period from the time the Form 470 was posted. Also, remember the E-rate program does not require that you look at the lowest cost bid and award to the lowest cost vendor. It looks first and foremost to your local state competitive bidding rules. And then it adds on to that this requirement that the cost of eligible goods and services be given the highest weighting. So if you've got 100 points to give and maybe price of eligible goods is 50 points or 40
No,
points.
it's not 50. No, we're not giving it 50. We're going to give it about 35.
And then 30 for the next one,
and then we're
25.
going to have 32 for reputation, for interoperability. We're going to add up more points on the matrix, John, than he always says that 50. I went, no.
Like I said, Cheryl's providing the color commentary.
That's the colorful commentary, because we want to pick the vendor that is going to provide the highest quality level of service to meet the needs of our school district. Now, they're not going to be 1 million for them, and then the other one is 5 million, and we're going to make the cost has to be reasonable, because even with the matrix, USAC will look at that and go, wait a minute. Yeah. So there is a reasonable expectation that you're going to be reasonable.
And the key there is just highest weighted factor.
Yes, you don't have to
35 give it to and then 34.
Don't let somebody tell you that you have to give it to the lowest bid, because that is absolutely incorrect.
I would even extend this type of analysis to a single bid situation.
Yeah.
USAC wants to see that you have done the math, that you've evaluated those proposals. And even in the case if it's one bid, it's not uncommon for them to come back and say, well, was this cost effective? Did you look at it? And so evaluating it, number one, take it through the same committee that would evaluate 4 bids, have them evaluate that proposal. And then you may also want to take the extra step of just going out there and doing some simple validation. If there is equipment being purchased, if you can find some screenshots somewhere of today's sort of going rate for those devices, anything that's sort of apples to apples that you can just save in your file.
Or just get a quote.
Because
you can just get a quote for something and have that as part of your documentation.
Yeah, or even if there's a website you could go and get a quote, just because they will, what will happen is 4 years, 5 years from now, auditors come in and, they may say, well, that looks crazy expensive. You can buy that for 1/4 of the price. We checked today on Google, well, this is 4 years in the future, so being able to prove sort of a snapshot in time that, hey, these were good prices. We made a good faith effort to make sure that this was a cost-effective service, competitively bid for the school district, and then you'll be a long way down the road. Now, I believe here in Kentucky, you've got some state contracts that may be E-rate eligible. Is that correct? So in that case, the state's already done the heavy lifting of the Form 470 and so on. There may be multiple vendors. Is that correct? That have been awarded. So for the same type of product or service, there may be multiple vendors that are have been awarded and are a part of that state master contract. In that situation, you can thank the state. You don't have to do the Form 470 itself. USAC will still, though, want to see how you chose the specific vendor that you went with. So they call it a mini bid. That's sort of their technical term. But again, all of this is just under that theme of documenting what you've done, how you've chosen your vendor, and doing everything you can to demonstrate that you want a fair, open, competitive bidding process. Funds for Learning, I'm going to do a couple of free resources that are available to you. The first is our E-Rate Manager tool. We launched it in 2003. It's a free resource for schools and libraries. We offer it because there's more of you than there are of us, and really just happy to provide resources and support that can benefit you, benefit your students and teachers. So this is a free tool. I encourage you to download it. You can get there off that QR code or just go to our website. It's E-Rate Manager, and it's easier than USAC. That should be the tagline.
Even if I didn't like John, I'm going to tell you something. This is masterful, and I'm going to give you some kudos because this is free to our whole community. And when I said, y'all aren't going to charge for this? He said, he's a very altruistic guy. I mean, he flies all over the country with me talking about E-Rate. I'm like, John, will you come over here? Sure. And he just flies around the country. We just came back from Boston. I'm like, he says, yes. We were in Texas. Wherever I ask him to go, he goes because they give to our community.
Where else am I going to go and somebody just give me praise like that?
Oh, well,
honestly?
really.
That's, so.
But thank you, John, because it is a great thing to do. And my admin said, thank you, Sheryl, for the E-Rate Manager. And went, you're welcome.
We also offer free office hours on
This is good
Wednesdays
stuff.
for our E-Rate Manager free subscribers. That's just an opportunity to ask questions from our certified consultants. Again, it's an hour we set aside each Wednesday. I guess we've got like 3 of them left. So if you sign up for E-Rate Manager, you're welcome to do that. And we're not taking on any new clients right now, but that's a great way if you just want to get a second opinion. You may have a consultant you're working with right now, and you just kind of like to bounce something off someone else. That's your opportunity.
Just ask a question.
And that's how you can also sign up for our weekly newsletter. And we have a free monthly webinar also that we provide. Again, just resources.
I don't even do E-Rate anymore, but I read that newsletter because it has, because he's talking to the FCC every other day, finding out that now this is the good thing.
Okay, I'd like to see a show of hands. Anyone considering applying for school bus Wi-Fi this year? Yeah, that's been pretty consistent.
Yeah, but once he tells you this, you're gonna think differently about it.
The rules on this were really just announced rather late, towards the end of last year, and really not in a position where I think most schools could really plan and prepare for it. What the FCC has done is they have now made school bus Wi-Fi an eligible part of the E-Rate program. So that means you can put the equipment on a school bus and then have that recurring monthly service for that connectivity on the school bus. And that's all E-Rate eligible, and it's under the category 1. So it doesn't come out of your category 2 budget. You can provide that.
It's not capped.
It's not capped. I think, obviously you need to look at, where your priorities are as a school district. You'll still have to pay your portion of that service. At a minimum, I think a lot of school districts are thinking about those special use buses that, they're running athletes across the state for hours and those sorts of things, or particular bus routes, whatever, or just maybe all of them, whatever the case may be.
But it doesn't have to be on buses that you use to transport children all the time. Because what'd you say, John, when we were in Boston? Nobody's going to ask you how much you're using it. But if you're transporting kids on athletic events, field trips, we have field trip buses. They're better buses. They're air conditioned. We take kids across the state, sometimes into Texas for competitions. That's what we're applying for.
I think every school district probably has that use case, that there's a good opportunity, and then, maybe building from there. So it's if you haven't done the Form 470, you haven't gone out and done all that, that window is closed for this year. It's not too early to really start thinking, though, about this and thinking about potentially next year applying for this for the 2025 fiscal or funding year. And remember, E-Rate funding years refer to the year in which the discounts start. So I'm going to skip the details then on this, but just it's not for everyone, but I would encourage you to really think carefully about and communicate that with the rest of your school district leadership. It's a strategic decision.
But this is for everyone.
Yeah, cybersecurity. So, show of hands, who's heard of cybersecurity? No, okay. um, this is the priority for every school district, I think. Each year, Funds for Learning conducts an annual survey of E-rate applicants. About 10% of applicants participate, and we're going to open it back up right after the filing window closes. So please, if you see that survey, take it. We take that information and we take it to Congress, we take it to the FCC, and it provides them real data about the applicant community and the E-rate program. One of the questions we've been asking consistently for years and getting a very consistent response is cybersecurity. We need cybersecurity. We need it in the E-rate program. It makes sense. This program is all about connections, and without cybersecurity, you don't have a reliable, secure, dependable network to use. So it's really, it goes hand in glove with, just networking itself. So the FCC has heard this cry, and they are in the process right now of considering a cybersecurity pilot program. We're all ready for cybersecurity just to be a part of the E-rate program. It's going to be a few more years before that happens. The important next step is this pilot program. And I want to leave you, I want to plant two seeds here with you. Number one is, if you have any strong feelings about this, even though the deadline has passed for comments to be submitted to the FCC, they still read those. So you can submit comments directly to the FCC. You don't have to be an attorney to do it. Doesn't have to have lots of whereases and that are for
Or KISTI could submit comments on behalf of the technology educators in this state, and I guarantee you they will be read.
Yeah, it's not too late. Number one. Number two is the pilot program will be announced sometime later this year, and I encourage you to put your name in the hat for that. There's not going to be enough money. It's $200 million. We probably need $2 billion, quite honestly. Don't let that stop you from applying. And a bit of this is your civic duty. We want to give the FCC a really strong foundation of information, a clear picture of what the true need really is. And some people are going to get funds.
Somebody in Kentucky is going to get funded.
They're going to want to make sure that there's, the representatives probably from every state, rural, urban, so on. So there's, it's not like Powerball. There's a decent chance. And meanwhile, you'll be helping inform the FCC so that this future program.
When they see that there is this huge need, as you said, when the request oversubscribed the 200 million to maybe 1.6 billion, that is going to be the clearest message to the FCC. They really do need the cybersecurity funding, because right now there is this untrue, they have basic firewalls, we fund that, and districts are paying for that. Well, they're getting what they need. I love, you're shaking, they know, but the proof point is in your filing and blowing it up. So I know KISTI can send out stuff to let people know about this, because we have the president of KISTI sitting in here, and let them know so they'll survive. What was that slide before this? Here's one of the interesting things. This whole pilot.
It's about to get good.
Here's one of the pilots. One of the requirements is going to be that we're going to have to assess our cybersecurity against some kind of a framework. Donna, raise your hand in the back. Donna and I are doing a cybersecurity session later, and we're going to talk about a free cybersecurity rubric that we're going to give you that will meet this requirement if you get funded for this pilot program. Because it's not just going to be, good, just get you some cybersecurity. They're going to have a few little hurdles to jump over. Now, the next slide, this is terrible to do it, but John, I have to do it. Donna's in the back. Donna. And myself and Diane Dorsch, who's the chair of COSIN, Frankie Jackson, who leads the National Cybersecurity Coalition with us. KISTI is the ISTI affiliate. So we all ISTE up. We wrote a book. We have been in tech, between the four of us, we've been in technology for 120 something years. The hair dye, you know, the Zoom, don't eat too many carbs, you know, start working a little bit. And we wrote a book, and ISTE has reviewed it, and they gave us a contract. You would have thought Don and I had been given $1 billion. My husband's like, well, I'm sure they're not going to pay you too much. I said, it's not about the money. But we've been talking and speaking and building expertise. So our book is, we have a new title. Donna, what's the new title? They just gave us a new title last night. Who doesn't want to elevate your career and build it? That's good. Huh? That's a good title. And so this QR code does not make you buy the book because it won't be out till the summer or fall. But here's what it'll do. We'll send you an email. It's just our personal site. We'll send you an email when it's published, and you can get a cheaper pre-publication copy for KISTI. So we're trying to do that. And then if you would want us to come back next year after we get the book, I probably can get somebody to buy a copy of this book for all your EdTech leaders. And then we do a signing because we got some connections of some people who are happy we're writing this book. So anyway, it is a shameless plug. It doesn't show up there in blue, but it's a shameless plug. But we have to do it because we're so excited, and we some senior women, and we never thought, my husband goes, I never thought you'd write a book. I went, well, you are wrong, honey child, because we did write a book. So anyway, John?
I've got one last exercise here.
Yes.
So if you would all just raise your right hand.
Okay, we're
You
going.
know, I'm not going to make you swear an oath, I promise. Just right hand, okay? And then take it over on your left shoulder. Give yourself a pat on the back for being here this afternoon. Really, end of the day, like E-rate, EdTech policy.
You showed up.
You all are the ones that are leading like that book title. Yes. Yep.
You're very.
That is your number one resource.
Yep.
Right
very
there.
lucky.
You know, the success comes not from doing it alone. You know, the old phrase, it takes a village. It's never more true than an E-rate. And, you know, the changes are impossible for one person to keep up with, the complexity, the uncertainty, some of the stress. So reaching out to your state E-rate coordinator they're there to help, and they are seeing, you know, what's happening across the state. And it's just a perspective that you don't have. So reach out to those resources, take advantage of them, leverage them is a better way, I guess, to leverage them. Mm-hmm. I don't know that sounds any better. So,
well, and this QR code will take you to this slide deck. I mean, we've done this all over the country. It may be one of the other slide decks we did, but it's the exact content, and also the video that John did for us on all the federal policy updates that we're giving to you too. So we're right at time. Thank you for coming. When I tell you, if you email John Harrington, he'll answer it. He'll answer your email about E-rate.
Thank you all. And if you have a specific question you maybe don't want to
ask
in front of the
hang around
group,
outside. He'll give you answers for free.
Thank you all.
Thank
Good
y'all
luck.
for coming.